Hello, everyone. So today we're going to talk about the Kabbalah of blockchain and how it relates to Aaron. Aharon, the brother of Moses. We've been talking about Moses as it relates to, uh, now the focus is the rectification of the sin of the golden calf. So now we're going to speak about the role that Aaron played in these events and how it relates to blockchain technology. So what happened is that we discussed that the Jewish people were impatient and they counted the day that Moses ascended to Mount Sinai as the first day of the 40 days, and not seeing him come back on what they considered to be the 40th day, which was again still early, still a day early. So then they rushed ahead and created this golden calf. So this all relates to the test of patience, as we'll see. So Aaron was patient and he tried to bide his time. First he told them to bring their jewelry, then he built an altar, and finally he proclaimed there will be a festival for God tomorrow. But it was impossible to restrain the hurrying sinners, and they rose early in the morning, and the dancing immediately began. By the time Moses arrived, it was already too late. So last time we spoke that wealth is determined by the leader of the generation, by the Moses of the generation. This is what God wants, to appoint. It's called Moshe Ish Elokim, Moses the man of God. To Zeh Yashpil v'Zeh Yarim, this one God lowers, and this one God lifts up, like the wheel of fortune, spinning around and around every day. And this is decided by Moses, the leader of the generation. So when we speak about the value of, let's say, a currency, we spoke about every coin that we count is infusing it with the divine awareness of divine nothingness. And even though I'm counting garnished, I'm counting nothing, but from my connection with God. So then it could be that nothing physically becomes worth a lot, or maybe not. That's all up to God. So when we talk about the ups and downs in the market, I could stay stable the entire time. So there's two modes here. It's called deliberate agility. This is a term that was coined by the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And it means not to tarry, but not to go too fast, that God forbid we should spill, we want to do things in the proper way and not to get overwhelmed, but to have alacrity, have agility, to move fast, but not too fast. So to be deliberate in our actions. This is all through our connection with God, or through our faith in God and our trust in God, that every action that we do should be in a deliberate and with concerted effort in our service of God. So when we talk about blockchain, so there is a verification process that happens. The idea is that to try to prevent manipulation, try to prevent double spend, people spending the digital ledgers twice. And the idea is that there should be some type of a relationship, a mutual benefit, that these blocks or these transactions shouldn't shouldn't be able to be manipulated. And so this whole technology was in order to have this decentralized, distributed, and oftentimes public. It says here the digital ledger. It is used to record transactions across many computers, so that any involved record cannot be altered retroactively without the alteration of all subsequent blocks. So let's step back for a second. So when we talk about the bear and the bull market, right? So we can sum it up as like the greed, wanted to keep on going higher, or the fear index, where it's going lower and maybe I should sell. So we said that that's not stability. This whole thing is creating equilibrium, stability. And so who's assigning the value? Well, we said that when properly using our resources in the service of God, like the donations that were given to the tabernacle, gold, silver, and copper. So this is the good way to use wealth. And then we said that it's Moses himself that decides who is wealthy and who's not. So view it like this way, that every transaction is authenticated by Moses, the man of God. So and what does this mean? Is that every time with my Aaron consciousness, now we're talking about, of going about things with patience and deliberate agility, then it's also with the awareness of divine nothingness, which is through our connection with Moses, through our relationship and our close connection with the leader of the generation, the man of God. It says that the priests in the temple, the very good and visual example for blockchain technology of one to the next to the next to the next, and verified at every step of the way, was after an animal was ritually slaughtered and the blood was to be poured on the base of the altar, sprinkled on the base of the altar. So there was these cups that on the bottom it couldn't be rested on the floor. It would fall over so the blood shouldn't congeal. And the faster that from where the animal was slaughtered to the base of the altar, the better. So that to make sure that none of the blood would congeal. So there was a line of the priests. The priests would line up, and they would pass this cone filled with blood down the line to the altar, and then back again empty. And someone who was looking at this, it looked like it was all in an instant, like a flash, like the speed of light, because they were totally given over. In Yiddish, it's called Iberkegebenkeit, totally given over to God, that there was no delay in this chain, this blockchain transmission. And we also, economics and currency relates to a flow. So talk about relating. Also, this example also relates to blood, which it relates to in our body, is the flow of things. The flow of things. It should move. But the concern in the secular model is that maybe there's ulterior motives, and maybe those that are checking, maybe it's artificially driving up the price of the currency. So none of that is a question if in our model, in the Torah-based model of having a currency, a Torah-based currency. Because someone who has wealth is because God wants that person to have wealth. And currently, there's sinners that also have wealth. Like they made a golden calf. The sinners made this object of gold. But the focus now is on rectifying the sin, right? And it's a clarification process, as we said. So we're going from physical currency to virtual currency, and then we're working back to have some sort of a rectified physical currency. So we talk about the deliberate agility, and if it's time, it's called zrizut b'mitinut. The correct balance between waiting and acting results from integrating Moses' approach with the approach of the people. Had there been good communication between Moses and the Jewish people, there would have been a balance between Moses' tendency to wait and the people's demand that he descend to them at long last. Correct communication between them would have prevented the misunderstanding, and it would have been clear to all how the days should be counted. Good communication would have transmitted to Moses, even as he was still up there on Mount Sinai, the spiritual status of the people below, and he would have known that the time had come for him to descend before it would be too late. So when Aaron passed away, the entire people, men and women, mourned for him. And when Moses passed away, it was the men. And the way that it's explained is that Aaron made peace between husband and wife. So we're talking now about a relationship between the value of currency and the process of carrying about our actions in life. And one after the next, with deliberate agility, but all again with this connection with Moses, the leader of the generation, and through that we should all merit to become wealthy again, physically and spiritually. So I'm going to link to the article that I've been reading some from. So I hope you read on. It's a very fascinating topic, and a lot more can be discussed, but I think this would be good for today. Thank you so much. Thank you, and please subscribe, and please feel free to visit more articles on my rabbi's website at www.inner.org. Thank you.